So even though Far Cry follows the same formula that it has for years, they've done little tweaks and they've adjusted things and maybe added a little bit more than previous Far Cry. And Far Cry 6 may be the best so far. I'm Nima. I wanted to talk about Far Cry 6. So, full disclosure, I've only played about 10, maybe 15 hours into the game. And your character is Danny Rojas. Now, you live in a fictional island that is ruled by a dictator. And as the government seems to suppress more and more people, and ultimately it looks like force them into either military or slave labor, your character, and namely your character's friends, decide that they gotta escape. And needless to say, pretty early on, you understand that it doesn't go well. And at the end of the day, you end up working with the Resistance. I will say the Resistance, as they are kind of a cool group of people to be running around with, they're also a little bit characterish. Like, they take that whole, like, straight edge, hardcore Resistance thing to another level. And I think that they could have rounded some of the edges off, so maybe some of these characters could be more, I don't know, accessible to you. And that is what it is. Now, I will say, too, looking back on Danny Rojas, the character has done really well. And for the first time in a long time with Far Cry, we actually get to see the character in cutscenes, and they tend to go for like a first person slash third person view when dealing with the character. And I like that. I liked being able to have some tie with the main character that you're playing as instead of it just being a complete first person view. Now, the game itself, as far as the environment and the story, I will say I'm not liking it as much as I did with Far Cry 5. And only because I think the main antagonist had a little bit more appeal to him. Like, part of you could see just how evil he was, but at the same time, you kind of somewhat understood him a little bit. He had a little bit more depth, as where I would say with Anton Castillo, who is the main antagonist, although you wouldn't know it, by the way, because every trailer just shows the actor's name. But anyway, he kind of comes off cookie cutterish, if you will. I understand there's going to be depth and there's going to be a little bit more feeling out of that character, but I would just say at the beginning of it, he's a dictator. Okay, we got an evil dictator to deal with. Not nearly as vitriol, I would say, as the antagonist in Far Cry 5. He almost, that opening scene where they're taking you to the church and all that's going on, you see him and you are ultimately like, oh, I've got to handle this dude. With the dictator, you're like, ah, he's a dictator. But outside of that, I also say, as this game does, it does a little cartoonyish stuff with it. And we all know that. The gunplay, the fact that most of the time your companion is an animal, it is a little, let's just say, far reaching. And I would say like they do that with the environment as well. Like this fictional place is modeled after like Cuba, and I think in some ways they take that like Hispanic culture and they kind of make it a little bit of a joke. And I'm not bothered by that. I am a Hispanic myself, and it is what it is. Like I get how these games work. Just kind of like in Far Cry 5, they really took the Southern American and potentially like right wing conservative, and they blew them up. And I think they kind of did that with the left wing on this one. Like the far left is your enemy in this one, the far right was the enemy. You could take it however you look, and I don't want to get into political. I don't think any of these things are real, so let's just, go back from that. And understand that it's just a game. But I really do feel like in some of those ways, the game kind of, I don't know, like it reaches a little bit. I'll put it that way. But aside from that, the actual combat it's a Far Cry game. And that's not a bad thing. That's a really good thing because they brought it back. There's so many great devices that you can use, so many great guns. The actual just gunplay in general is fun as all get. Not to mention the fact that they have this new thing that is what they call a resolver weapon, and that thing can turn into like a jetpack, essentially, like a rocket launcher. This is where you store your Molotov cocktails, your grenades, all of these things, and then it goes in scale from there to where you can actually have a Gatling gun that was a refurbished motorcycle engine. Like it just really, really expands upon all the cool, fun things that you could do in Far Cry, and then take it to the bad guys, take it to the government of this fictional country, and it is kind of that same formula where okay, there's a checkpoint, there's a stronghold, whatever, you need to take it over and slowly turn all of the red areas blue. And as you do that, you gain more power, you gain more weapons, you gain more allies, and it'll walk you through the story of the game. Now, I think even with that being that same formula, that's again not a bad thing. It's something that most games could actually just keep doing over and over. And I think a lot of us who play these kind of games just enjoy it. It's almost like coming home, if you will. Like it's that moment of, oh, I know what I'm supposed to do in this game, and now I have an idea of how I'm going to handle this. I'm going to run stealth, or I'm going to go in with guns blazing, and I know how to track how I'm going to map out my attack. We'll say that. Here's my tactics for taking over this region of the island. I really enjoy it. I like it. I think it's one of those things that either you're a fan of like that open world sandbox kind of game, or you're not. And if you are, you're really going to like this game because they have really smoothed out a lot of the rough edges that were in previous Far Cries, which weren't a lot, by the way. Like, let's be honest, Ubisoft has done a great job with Far Cry, and they've just built upon that. For one, I will say, and I think anyone watching the gameplay can tell, big fan of the companions. Love my crocodile, alligator, whatever he is. I think he's a crocodile. Awesome. Like, it's like one of the coolest things starting off. And really early on in the game, I will say that you go from nothing, having a gun with one bullet, to you've got a flamethrower, a crocodile, and a horse that you're riding around on, or you're just stealing vehicles, and this is all within an hour of the game. Not to mention your fun resolver weapons that are also being crafted and built. This game really just gets you to where you want to be. I think in comparison to other games like I've been playing recently, I'm not going to name the names, but I played like a 2-hour stint of a game recently, and it was all reading. It was all dialogue. It was all okay. It was interesting, and I liked the game and whatever. But that's not what I want all the time. I want action. Okay, I get it. This is the bad guy. This is what I'm supposed to do. Let me at it. And that's what this game does. It's action, balls to the wall kind of gameplay, and ultimately, it gives you the ability to decide how you're going to do it. And I like that. I really do. Following a rail, if you will, it's fine in a lot of games, but you do sometimes just want to be able to just say, okay, I'm going to throw on some music and I'm going to go conquer some checkpoints and just destroy some bad guys. And who knows? Am I going to use the dune buggy with that has a parachute on it and I just fly over and shoot people? Am I going to stealth? Am I going to use a sniper rifle from far away? Am I just going to sick my crocodile on people and watch the chaos happen as we trap them in? That's what all of this game is. And as much as I would say that, like, the story aspect, I don't know if it's a good or bad thing, but it does go from serious and you understand the gravity of the situation to comically action-packed, like 80s movies where, yeah, you're just like, you're parachuting off of a cliff and shooting a Gatling gun that was once a motorcycle engine at a bunch of bad guys. Like, I think that that's actually a good thing with this game, that they kind of marry those two worlds together, because the situation in which you're playing it is a very serious one and a somber one. When you really think about it, a group of people being forced into slave labor and or forced to join the military, at the same time dealing with the deaths of family and friends and allies and people you care about. That's hard to then turn this game and say, hey, it's going to be fun. Well, that doesn't sound fun. That sounds like a lot of depression and anxiety and those kind of things. But it actually does that turn really, really well. So far, I will say, like, I've thoroughly enjoyed this game. It wasn't even a game I was going to get, I'll be honest. And then I kind of started looking at the month, and I was like, okay, well, most of the games I was going to get I already have, and I'm already working on reviews, and I'll pick it up. And I'm glad I did, because I am really, really enjoying it. I like it quite a bit. But I'm kind of curious, are you guys interested in picking it up, or have you gotten it? What are your thoughts on it? Are you hesitant to get it? Any and all comments I appreciate. Anyway, guys, I appreciate your time. Take care. Please like, subscribe, do all that stuff. That helps me out. That'll eventually start turning into something, hopefully. And by the way, Twitch, it's Nima J. If you look me up, a lot of times with a lot of these games, I'll just be out twitching them and I'll just do live streams and just kind of give everyone an idea. Like I just recently did Kenna Bridge of Spirits and just decided just to live stream the entire game. It was a lot of fun. Still working into a lot of that stuff. But anyway, guys, seriously, really, really appreciate you. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.